I think this is, as a founder, not coming from sales, this is probably one of the hardest things to figure out. If you're, because if I'm in the role of a founder who just built the product or is in the process of building a product, I want to show up and be like, look at the stuff that I built. And even when I was a founder, I come from sales. I spent 10, 11 years selling before I did this, and I still did that because you're so excited. It's like when you have a newborn, you're like, look at my cute baby. You're like, that thing is hideous. Yes.
It's kind of ugly, but yeah.
And the good sales father is like, do you want to see a picture of my kids? And you can tell somebody's like, oh yeah, I'll show you some of mine. Or like, nah, I don't want to see your frog. I don't care.
Yep.
And I think that's the kind of analogy. And so I'd love to understand your take on the sort of core components of a sales conversation.
Yeah. Well, first there's, I mean, we'll get into like the tactics of an actual sales conversation, but I think you hit the nail on the head there. Like, it's a shift around what the purpose of a sales conversation actually is. And it's not, and I think a lot of this comes from like this learned pitch culture where we learn to like create something and then pitch it out there, which is not how B2B businesses actually sell. And that takes some work like internally to make that shift, because humans are naturally eye-centric, and you've spent all that time having that baby or making that product, right? And you think it's awesome, and it is just for some people, but not for everybody. And you need to start to realize that sales has nothing to do with you as the seller, right? And it's shifting whether you call it, we-centric or you-centric, or you call it sales synonymous with love, buyer-centric, like I think, or showing up in service instead of get energy. You're not there to get something as a sales. You're not even there to make a sales, right? Like a goal is to make sales, but not with that particular person. I had a mentor say to me, that sales isn't something that you do to someone. Sales is something that you do for someone. And it's really a place of service. And that is like that truth of sales synonymous with love. And I think if you show up with that intention, it'll really, and the intention, I mean, is just to help the other person. A sales conversation is just about helping the other person. And if you help people, they'll buy, so that shift is the first shift, which is so hard for new. You have two problems going on with most sales conversation. Is one, the founder loves their product and they just want to talk about their product. And two, people think early salespeople want to make a sale. They want to get money. You need to get that money, right? And those two things are killer those lead to really bad sales conversations. So,
and I think that second piece comes from a lot of the early sales books where it's like, this is how you convince somebody to buy. Right. Like I think there was a period like in the 90s and early aughts where like there were so many books on like NLP and so many books on, this is how you do the yes ladder and this is how you get them to say yes. And it's like, I grew up reading those and I was like, this doesn't feel right. Because the first book I ever read was Miller Heiman, New Strategic Selling. And it talks about how to understand your buyer. And if I'm like, I 100% agree. This is the buyer's journey. We are just guides. And the role of the salesperson is to understand the problem. Be like, hey, talk to me about your problem. I understand the problem. That we solve really well. Let's see if your problem looks like that shape. And if it does, cool. And if there's a couple rough edges, then I'll be like, hey, this is where it's not going to be as good. That's where it's not going to be as good. But the moment that I think it like really helped visualize it for me, I was reading a non-sales book, Nancy Duarte's Resonate. And she was talking about presentations. And the role of the presenter is not the hero, they were talking about the hero's journey. The role of the presenter is not the hero. And if we take the Star Wars analogy, you are not Luke Skywalker, you are Yoda, an important character, but you're hardly in the movie. The whole movie is about Luke. The whole buying journey is about the buyer. You're just a little tiny green person. So like, ask a couple of questions in a very strange backward way, and then shut up and let the movie focus on the hero.